Hi, welcome back to the Be the Cake podcast with me, your host, Liz Campbell. I know it's been a while. I'm not going to apologise. I have been busy doing important stuff. I haven't felt inspired to do the podcast again till now, but here I am. So sit down. Are you sitting comfortably? Now we'll begin. Okay, so what do I want to talk about today? What are we talking about today? We are talking about the trap inherent in the spiritual community and the way that people look at stuff when it comes to, I'm going to say gender politics, or I don't know quite how you'd put it actually, but yeah, essentially the crux of the matter when people are stuck in this very binary way of looking at gender and, you know, me, woman, you, man, all of that kind of shit. And essentially where the pitfalls lie in this. Something I see is people kind of going on about the feminine energy and being in your feminine and the masculine energy and da and kind of getting all arse backwards quite a large amount of the time from the point of view of not acknowledging the fact that all of us as beings contain both masculine and feminine energy, as well as the sort of creation energy that comes from the union of those two energies in terms of like what you could call, you know, the magical inner child energy, which is, you know, you can look at as straight creation energy. So if you're looking about sort of doing things, receiving things, creating things, or like the creation energy, or you could really sum it up as like combining all into one energy of choosing and experiencing. Right now, this is interesting from the point of view of there's a bias I have noticed over the past, I don't know how many years, of people talking about the divine feminine rising, but then basically using that as a kind of way to essentially go into a disempowered state around women need this from men in order to be able to do this and yada yada yada, where the power is being, people are being encouraged to put their power outside of themselves again and again and again. Like, men need this in order to be able to do this, so men need women to do this in order for this to happen, women need this from men in order for this to happen. All of it focused on placing your power outside of yourself into someone else and then having to have them cooperate in order for you to be able to experience what you want, rather than owning your sort of inner state of being as being both masculine and feminine energy, and being able to direct both energies and being able to literally navigate the multiverse in which we live without spending your fucking time putting your power outside of yourself. And when you really start to look at it, it's really fucking obvious, isn't it? It's like, why on earth would you make your ability to be, do, or have anything dependent on something outside of you over and above your own internal ability to focus, ability to create, ability to choose, ability to decide, ability to claim? Ability, like, I could carry on with this list, you know, you get the gist. It just seems nonsensical to me, and it's something kind of, I don't feel like I have a solution to this as such, other than if you're listening to this and you've been falling into that trap, stop it right fucking now, because honestly, it's absolutely baffling to me how people are so addicted to the idea of blaming other people for everything that they don't want to actually own themselves as creators and own their ability to create, which basically absolutely hinges on your ability to take responsibility for yourself, regardless of what happened in your childhood and how bad it was. And, this is coming from someone who had a pretty shit I had a shit childhood, let's face it. I had a shit childhood. And I have worked all the angles through my own journey of trauma healing and of understanding and of diving deeper into things and looking at family dynamics and all the rest of it and the generational trauma and so on and so forth. And coming back to the truth of who I am as a spiritual being, having a human experience via actually properly activating my 12-strand DNA and understanding, the importance of being able to take the higher perspective and reconcile it with what I call the small self and come to a place where you can navigate the paradox of those 2 points of access, basically, so that you are enjoying your ability to create whilst also not denying your experience as a human being, whilst also not becoming a victim to yourself in terms of becoming a victim of your small self and its past experiences. Does this make sense? And I do kind of feel like the crux point of self-mastery is exactly this. You only truly become a master of yourself when you start to actually really understand and embody not only this paradox, but how to navigate this axis, this paradoxical axis, as it were, the navigating the polarity and the middle point and being able to reconcile things and actually move forwards in a state of awareness of both, in a state of denial of neither. And, that includes navigating your masculine, feminine polarity internally. That includes navigating a bunch of things. At the end of the day, I was given a really, really good quote a long time ago by, literally, I was channeling Thoth at the time, and this was back in 2016, I think it was. Probably towards the end of 2016. And I don't work with Thoth anymore from the point of view of like having had understanding of the level of what I can only call fuckery doodah. just to make light of it, that there has been with humanity and our energetics and our DNA and the stargates and this, that and the other. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Like, this isn't a subject for this particular podcast, but essentially understanding when you pan back and take the higher perspective, like you zoom right out and kind of look at it from, I'm going to say, try and look at it from the source eye view of seeing how everything serves the drama, as it were. You start to understand how even the characters that get painted as dark or malevolent or whatever actually are serving the drama in some way according to the deeper kind of settings that you've got going on around what you want to experience and so on and so forth. So, I always come back to this thing of like, listen to the message rather than paying attention to the messenger most of the time. That like the information, the right information can come to you through the most surprising sources. The most important thing is not to put people on pedestals, to take what resonates, discard the rest, to understand that you have the ability to access whatever kind of knowledge or wisdom you require in life. But first, you have to open yourself up to be able to receive it. And the people that come along your path that you might want to call a teacher or whatever, and some people use the term guru. I fucking hate the term guru. Basically, the main point that they're, the main role that they're there to play in your life, and if they're not doing this, don't continue to work with them, is to activate you into a greater awareness of your own ability to master your energetics, etc. And if you were going to look at life as being like a 3-stage game, level 1 is you're the player, which should I say, level 1 is you're the character in the game, level 2 is you're the player playing the character, level 3 is you're actually programming the game. Okay, so you've got your 3 levels. You have to look at this, you have to pan back and look at it from the perspective of being the one programming the game, right? And when you do this, you start to understand how every single part of the game is serving the character arc of that level 1 avatar, in actual fact. And you can start to appreciate things from a holistic point of view, rather than being in this binary, them good, them bad type of nonsense that people have a tendency to do without even thinking about it, basically, which, as I'm sure you'll agree, isn't that fucking useful. So, yeah, I started off talking about the masculine, feminine, binary gender dynamic that's sold from the point of view of people kind of externalizing it and then making themselves victims of it. And I've ended up talking about this, so it was all necessary. Essentially, the thing that I want to really kind of press upon you, if you've come upon this podcast at this point of time, it's because you're ready for this information. If you find yourself not able to listen and turned off by it, it's because you're not ready to accept this level of information yet, and that's fine. You'll probably come back to it later at some point. You got, at the end of the day, it might not be part of your character arc at the moment, and it might be. If it is part of your character arc, then there's a strong possibility that you might want to come and join us in the Magic Zone, which is my group program, which is an ongoing thing on Telegram, and it's got a monthly subscription, Dewberry, and essentially I'm looking at doing like 3 and 6 month packages for it, 3, 6 and 12 month packages for it, although I'm trying to figure out exactly how to fucking do that so it's automated as that. Anyhow, that's beside the point. Essentially, I'm not about hierarchy. You've probably figured that out from the way that I talk generally. I don't do hierarchy. I don't believe in it. I think it's nonsense. I will say, having said that I don't do hierarchy, I'm also aware of the fact that when it comes to people's level of awareness, there is a hierarchy that goes on this planet. Like I said, you've got level 1, level 2, level 3 in terms of the way that people are operating in terms of their consciousness. Are you operating at level 1 stage of consciousness, a level 2 stage of consciousness, or a level 3 stage of consciousness? All of them equally valid. All of them have their place within the great web of life. Ultimately, if you are kind of in the level 2 wanting to get to level 3 side of things, then the Magic Zone is probably the perfect place for you. Even if you're in the level 1 stage and actually you're having a sense that there's something bigger, then come and join us and see if it's for you. You can duck out after a month if it's not your bag. But ultimately, the whole point of this game of life is to get to the place where you understand the paradox and you can live both as a spiritual being and as the human experience and reconcile the two together. And doing that does not mean endlessly making your happiness and your ability to create dependent on people outside of you and the way that they behave, ultimately. Because whenever you do that, you are setting up a feedback loop of disappointment, and you will continue to circle in that until you get to the point where you're so fucking bored of it that you decide to level up or check out, because that's what happens. Ultimately, people level up or they check out. No one really stays in stasis. Movement and change is the only constant in this life, ultimately. And if you're ready for embracing more movement and more change in terms of the way that you organise stuff. It's really funny, actually, because I'm realising my business name, Dynamic Intention, it literally just sums it all up so perfectly. Anyhow, that was a nice kind of non-linear realisation. So, yeah, if you're ready to embrace the movement and the change and be a bit more dynamic with your intentions and a bit less sitting in like what I'm going to call the mode of life's eternal victim, then you might want to come and join us. I'm sticking links underneath this. I'm sending you so much love. I look forward to speaking to you again soon, or maybe even seeing you in the Magic Zone. Mwah.